Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jex. Today we're looking at pen and ink for a change, but for an even bigger change, it's not a Conway Stewart and it's not a Visconti. When it comes to the ink, I'm not even sure what it is. Never mind.
So, what have I got for you today? A little while ago, I got this letter. It's a very nice letter. It's from a lady called Michelle Stevenson. People with the name of Michelle or Michael always clearly have to be listened to. And she told me in this letter that she was sending me a trio of inks in a little box. There's a little box. There's a trio of inks. Now, there was a slight difficulty because she thought that she'd send the inks in this box because that way, if there was any leakage, there wouldn't be a great problem. She was right, there was leakage. And it wasn't a great problem because she had each of these wrapped up and the container was wrapped up. But she had coloured the top of these lids very carefully to show exactly what colour was inside. And unfortunately, the leakage meant that they had to be washed, and so any writing and so on has gone. Never mind. Now, she says in her letter that there are 3 inks here, oddly enough. Number 1 is a brown, which is a KWZ Meet Me in St. Louis 2019 butterscotch, which apparently was made for the St. Louis, Missouri pen show. So I'm looking forward to trying that. Then there is number 2, which is from Takia. It's Uguisu. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a Japanese name. Apparently it means Japanese buck warbler. There you go. That's a sort of olive green, which I'm rather looking forward to trying, which will be that one. I'll put a bit of white underneath it. Possibly the colour will show up a bit better. So you got that one. This one's the Meet Me in St. Louis, I think, which I'm really rather looking forward to testing too. And then the third one I'm going to test today. She says she might let me know what it is later, but she also gives me a hint and says that if I ever get back to the States, I'll better go down the Mississippi to New Orleans and visit Papier Plume. That being the case, I think this must be one of their special inks. They have their own New Orleans collection, and I think this, probably from the colour of it, will be Calais Real, which is a nice ink. Now, you may be expecting me to get straight on with reviewing those inks, but I'm not going to, because at the same time I had another lovely letter and parcel from a good friend of mine, Seba. Seba Pezzani told me he was sending me a little something, which he said was a bit different, and it was this. A Delta pens for Argenio. As I understand it, Argenio is a company in Italy. I think it says it's made for the Casa Borbonica, which I think is for the House of Bourbon. So it's got this nice packaging. It has been used, I think, this pen. And Seba told me, Seba's a lovely guy. I went out to a conference to give a talk and so on in Brescia many years ago, and Seba was the translator. And then I went to another festival in Piacenza a few years later with my family, and it was wonderful. And Seba again was the translator, but also one of the organisers, and he and I have been communicating ever since. He's a delightful fellow, and I look forward to going back there at some point. But he knew I loved pens because he's been looking at some of my YouTube videos, and he sees me on Facebook, and basically he knows me. And he was given this pen some time ago, but he's never really used it. He doesn't use fountain pens because, like a lot of people, he just hasn't got time for the pleasure and joys of fountain pens. So he thought rather than just having it sitting in a drawer, he would give it to me. So it comes in this delightful box, Argenio Napoli. And it's got all the authentic kit. So it's got a business card, salvatoreargenio.com. So it's got a business card. It's got a little history of the company, I think. So it started in 1735, all the way through to the current day, I believe. Seba's going to watch this and he's going to correct me in the comments, Common. So look down the bottom for SEBA, Seba. And when you see that he's corrected me, you'll know that I got it all completely wrong. But it's in Italian, so I've got an excuse. So here we go with, again, Delta Argenio, Real Casa Borbonica. And then it's got these different aspects, which I think are the different families that make up this emblem. And we'll come back to that in a second. And then it's got instructions for a pen from Delta. And that's about it. And then you have some ink cartridges, of course. And this really nice box. It's one of the nicest presentation boxes I think I've seen from any pen manufacturer, full stop. And then there's this. So, let's get those out of the way. And we'll look at this delicious little pen. It is almost completely unused, I would say. There's no scratches or marks on it whatsoever. It's beautiful. Very strong dark acrylic with some writing on the side here. It's got the Delta logo, then Delta Italy for Argenio. In terms of decoration, starting in the middle just for a change, you can see here that there are fleur-de-lis pattern going all the way round this broad, I assume, nickel or chrome plated or whatever it might be band, which is gorgeous. It has a very large, easy to use clip. Now, those of you who know me know I like a serious clip that works. This one, he says, putting it on his shirt, utterly irrelevant for you of course, but never mind. This clip works fine. You probably just heard it click as it came off. It's strong, but what's nice is it's rounded at the base to put it onto your shirt and rounded at the top coming off your shirt. So it's strong enough to hold it in the shirt, but it won't rip your fabric. That's rather nice, I like that. Then at the top and the bottom there are two what look like, I'm just going to lift it up and look, there are spacers, and it's got stainless steel or chrome either side of each spacer, and then in the middle is a yellowish golden enamel, which is just gorgeous. Very, very nice indeed. Again, with it this close, hopefully you can see the fleur-de-lis pattern perfectly on that cap. And the writing here. Okay, so what else can I say about it? Well, at the base, it's just a smoothly rounded and highly polished end. But at the cap, it's very different, because here you can see that gorgeous family crest again. Trying to catch it so it's not just shining too brightly. And if I just reach to my left and get a bit of paper, now you can see how it's duplicated. Beautifully done, really beautifully done. And very impressive piece of workmanship, I would say. That's probably the very nicest bit of cap decoration I've ever seen. And it is absolutely perfect. Really is very, very neat and tidy. So that's all the externals. The cap itself is not slab sided, it actually flares out at the top. So I think this section between the two bands is parallel sided, but then it flares out to make space for the cap top. The lower section is not, I don't think, parallel sided either. It looks much more as though it's narrower here and expands up to the section where the fingers go. So let's have a look at the internals. The nib is, I assume, stainless steel. It is a medium nib. It says just on the side there. I'm not too sure if you can see that, but just on the side it has M for medium. The nib has the Delta logo, which is very nice. So I assume that is stainless steel. It has a nice cross section. It looks very smooth. I think that's going to be a very smooth writer. How do you fill it? Standard cartridge converter. So just unscrew the section. And here we have a Delta cartridge converter. Very nice, very neat. Cartridge converter, I assume, unscrews. Well, didn't actually need to unscrew it. It just comes straight out. There are times like this when you have a very clever idea about exactly how you're going to film, and then you drop everything. Hey ho. One Pineda ink filler, so we'll just suck some ink up. I will now probably drop everything again because I'm clearly in that sort of state. Clean out my little and miraculously I haven't made a terrible mess everywhere except on my fingers. That's nice, it makes a good change. Now, because I filled it from the cartridge converter, I'm just going to dip this in the ink to try to get the ink flowing. Only a slight mess today, makes a nice change, only a minimal mess. Now I have to say, I love Pineda snorkels. They are enormously useful, very practical, but the difficulty is, if you fill a cartridge converter from a snorkel, you're not filling the nib and feed, and it can take a little bit of time to get the ink to flow. Okay, so here we are with a pen. And trying to fill it while demonstrating that you can see the ink coming up. There you go. So here we are with a sheet of paper. Let's see how it writes. So what is this? I reckon there's only one ink in the Papier Plume range that this could be, and that is Bayou Nightfall. Thanks to Michelle and to Seba for a fantastic little combination. That is a gorgeous colour. I really like that, Michelle. That's going to get used up very quickly. And Seba, this is going to be on my desk and used really very often indeed. I just love the colour that they've got in that enamelling and that lovely emblem at the top of the pen. Really gorgeous pen. Thanks so much to both of you. So, that is too bright, isn't it? Gorgeous ink. Very gorgeous pen. Thanks so much to Michelle and to Seba for that.
I would just say that it took me some time to get the pen to work. That is in no way a reflection of the quality of the pen or anything. It's just because initially, and the reason why I've got ink everywhere, is I used a Pineda snorkel to fill the cartridge, thinking that would be a clever idea. It would save me getting ink all over my fingers, I thought. I failed. And the reason why I failed was, if you're using a Pineda or any similar type of snorkel device, you must get the nib fully wet before you fill the thing up, because otherwise you've got the cartridge with a very dry nib and feed, and it's going to take time for the ink to flow through. So when I was writing initially, I ran out constantly after very short bursts. That's not a reflection on the pen, it's just the way I filled it. If you were to put the nib straight in the ink, suck up the ink and then carry on, it won't be a problem, as I demonstrated, because then I refilled it by filling up ink from the actual ink bottle. A clue there that maybe, although the idea of a snorkel seems like a really good idea, it ain't necessarily the perfect solution for things. There's a thought to be hanging with. And there you have it. Some wonderful inks, a fantastic pen. Thanks ever so much to Michelle and to Seba. I am really grateful for both, and they're all going to get used up. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching, and I'll be around very soon. Cheers.